Salutations, everybody. Welcome to my movie vlog. My name is John Campea, and this is the companion video. Now, every day on the John Campea Show and also on Open Mic, we take live questions from you guys, the audience. But quite often, we don't have time to get around to answering all of those questions. But I want to make sure you guys know that when you send in those questions, they do get answered. So I gather up those questions we didn't have time for, and I answer them here on the companion video. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it. And we go to the first question we're getting caught up on, which comes to us from Crazy Mr. Fizzle. I love that name. Who writes, Evangeline Lilly said in an interview that she was in Avengers Infinity War. Spoilers for Avengers 4? Thoughts? Recent follower and love what you do, avid follower and fan. Well, thank you so much, Crazy Mr. Fizzle. You know, I'll be honest with you. I have seen a lot of interviews with Evangeline Lilly. Clearly not all of them. But I do not remember hearing her say that she was in Avengers Infinity War. I don't remember hearing anything about that. Now, as far as whether or not her talking about Avengers could possibly be spoilers for Avengers 4, I'm not quite sure what spoilers for Ant-Man, Wasp 4? I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking there. Look, bottom line is this. I don't recall hearing Evangeline Lilly saying she was in Avengers Infinity War. But do me a favor. If you know where you heard that and you have a link to it, could you email me? Just email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com and just put Evangeline Lilly in the subject line or something. And send me a link to that. Because like I said, I've seen a lot of interviews with her. I've never heard her say that. So if you've got a link to somewhere where she said that, I'd be very curious to hear it. So thanks a lot for sending in a question, man. All right. Crazy Mr. Fizzle follows it up with, who do you think will end Thanos in Avengers 4? Well, that assumes that Thanos gets ended in Avengers 4. And I don't know that we should make that assumption. Now, if it follows the standard protocol of comic book movies, then yeah, the bad guy dies. But then again, the MCU does not always follow standard protocol, right? So if he does die, I got a feeling it's going to be Thor. And I think they've set that up, that it will be Thor. I think that's the reason why they start Infinity War with Thor and Thanos. It practically ends with Thor and Thanos. And so I think it's going to be Thor. Now, I would rather see Drax the Destroyer do it. There's an argument that maybe Gamora does it. There's an argument that maybe Iron Man does it. I mean, but I think at the end of the day, I've got a feeling it's probably going to be Thor. All right, next one. Ben Lorenowitz writes, on the spot, can you list your top 53 movies in alphabetical order, then organized by year they came out? All right, I'm guessing you're joking. I often talk about how when people send me like a question, say, John, what are your 5 favorite films from 1964 to 1967 by genre, or something like that, right? Where like clearly they send me these live questions, which is like, I can't possibly answer that off the top of my head. So obviously Ben is just playing around on that a little bit. Thank you, Ben. Emily Romo writes, hey, John, just wanted to ask if you have any plans to do another Star Wars Schmodown play-along video like you did last time. Nah, I don't think so. I did it once. It was fun, but there's really no point in it. So, no, I have no plans to doing it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I won't do some other kind of fun stuff with some other things. But as far as doing that now, that was probably just a one-time, one-shot thing. I don't think I'll be doing that again. Taki75 writes, regarding Marvel casting, never liked Portman as Jane Foster. You know, that's another good one. But you know what? That one... See, I was talking yesterday a little bit about how Elizabeth Olsen, as much as I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Olsen, she's a terrific actress. I just thought she was kind of miscast for Scarlet Witch. The Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, I don't think that's miscasting. I just think it was a poorly written character. I just think the Jane Foster character is a poorly written character. I don't think it has anything to do with miscasting. I don't think it was Natalie Portman's fault. I honestly feel like when I watch that it's just the Jane Foster character was just not a great written character. And I love the first Thor movie, the one directed by the great Kenneth Branagh. I've got that first Thor movie in my personal top 10 comic book movies list. But the Jane Foster character didn't quite work. But I don't chalk that up to Natalie Portman. I don't chalk it up to not it being a good fit with the actress. I honestly write that one up to just they didn't write the character right. And they didn't figure out the dynamic between Thor and Jane. And to me, it just never worked, either in that or in the sequel. So, yeah, I think Natalie Portman could have been a great Jane Foster if the Jane Foster character was better written. And that's just kind of how I feel about it, at any rate. Marv Dizel writes, Geo, is it me or did every person in South Korea see Jurassic World? $32 million box office. Yeah, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom has been killing it overseas. Now, a lot of people don't realize that while Jurassic World opens this weekend here in North America, it's opened in a lot of international markets already, and it has been kicking ass in a lot of those markets. It's been doing really well. Now, they're not expecting it to do that well in North America. I mean, it's going to have a huge opening. Right now, they're projecting about 125 million. I'm guessing somewhere between 125 million to 140 million is probably where it's going to come in. It's huge. Clearly not as huge as the first one. But I think that first one massively overperformed anyway. So that's fine. It's going to have a big opening. But yeah, internationally, it's been doing crazy good. Like, I've been reading tons of numbers in the trades, and like, it's all really, really positive stuff. So clearly it struck a chord maybe a little bit better with the overseas audience than here, but it's still going to do really well here too. All right. Chris Parker writes, have you seen the Spielberg documentary yet? No, I still haven't. The one on HBO. It gives great insight into Spielberg's personal life and changed the way I look at some of his movies. I got to watch it because Spielberg is my all-time favorite director. There's two documentaries, I believe they're both on HBO, that I still have not watched that I have to watch. One is the Spielberg one. The other is the Andre the Giant one. I've got to watch those. And I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them yet, but I got to get caught up on both of those because I hear nothing but good things about them both. And Andre the Giant was Andre the Giant. And Steven Spielberg is my all-time favorite filmmaker, so I got to get up on that. All right. ZCM Zombie writes, quickening equals Super Saiyan. Did Dragon Ball Z copy? I don't know. Look, we were talking on the show sometime last week about the Highlander series and what the quickening was. And the quickening is this, when one immortal kills another, they absorb their power and their knowledge and all this kind of stuff. And it's in the form of lightning bolts coming down to them. But as much as I love the Highlander, let's not pretend that's the first thing in any sort of literature or narrative storytelling to do something like that. So no, Dragon Ball Z copied it from somewhere, but I don't necessarily think it was copying from Highlander. Or maybe it was. But hey, 50% of art is imitation anyway, so that's perfectly fine. Brad Timms writes, when fan toxicity strikes, always remember the positive things that come from fandom. Example, I love watching your videos while doing cardio. You and the fans have helped me lose 10 kilograms. That's like 14 pounds this year. Well, first of all, good for you, Brad, because that's not easy to do. That's super tough. And thank you for sharing that you bring us along the ways with you. Like, I do love our community here. I love the fans here. I love the interaction that we have, and I'm glad that you're able to get a lot out of that too. So thank you. That was very nice of you to take a few minutes out just to share that, Brad. Good luck on the rest of your journey. And again, thank you for sharing those thoughts. That's awesome. Thanks, man. All right. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, like what Toto did for Dune, what band would you like to see score a movie? Honestly, I don't care. I'm not big on bands scoring movies. I mean, Queen practically scored Highlander. There are some good examples of that out there, but honestly, I'm more down for orchestral scores for movies than anything else. Like, for instance, the Kendrick Lamar did a bunch of the soundtrack for Black Panther, but a lot of people forget the best music in Black Panther wasn't Kendrick Lamar's. It was the orchestral score. Like, it was the composer who did a lot of that work. Like, and Kendrick Lamar has some great tunes in Black Panther. Don't get me wrong. But I think the best music in Black Panther isn't Kendrick Lamar's stuff. So I'm really more of, I guess, a little bit of a traditionalist when it comes to that sort of thing. So honestly, ZCM, off the top of my head, none. I mean, even like one of my favorite bands in the world, well, actually my absolute favorite band in the world has always been U2. But no, I can't. I don't necessarily wouldn't want them to score a movie. Although I believe didn't they score the Spider-Man stage show? If memory serves me right. Maybe I'm not remembering that right, but maybe they did. But yeah, honestly, to me, the answer to that is probably none. Brad Timms writes, I've always wanted Marvel to get the Fantastic Four rights back, purely because I want to see the Avengers take on Galactus. I mean, honestly, here's the ridiculousness of it. The Avengers can't fight Galactus. What's the Hulk going to do? Nothing. What's Iron Man going to do? Nothing. I mean, so really, but beyond that, I mean, that's great, but like to me, I don't want the Fantastic Four in the MCU, and I don't want the X-Men in the MCU, because what you're sacrificing all to get a Galactus pop-up in one movie is too much. I mean, that's just my opinion. You obviously feel differently, and there are other fans who feel the same way you do, and that's fine. To me, though, it's not worth it. To get rid of all the great... I mean, look, Fox has been doing such a great job with Deadpool, Deadpool 2, Logan, best film of 2017, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past. I mean, they've been cranking out great films that feel totally different than Marvel films. And now you put them all under one roof. It's going to make more comic book movies feel the same. We're going to get less originality in our comic book movies. We're going to get less diversity in our comic book movies. We're going to get less comic book movies, period, than we were before. So many drawbacks, all because of what? To get what? And that's just the way I feel, but I know a lot of you guys feel different. I respect that. I just... I do not want them in the MCU. I just don't. But it looks like that's what might happen. We'll have to wait and see. Come on, Comcast. Outbid Disney. Let's see. John K. writes, are comparisons of Kelly Tran's harassment and that of Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best, Jar Jar, after episode 1 fair? Lloyd and Tran both blamed for poorly written characters. Well, the big difference, obviously, between the Lloyds... I mean, first of all, Lloyd got some... He was a child actor. Did the character suck? Yes, but he was a child actor. That wasn't his fault. That wasn't his fault at all. The other big difference between the two situations, though, is that a lot of the attacks on Kelly Marie Tran were racial and gender-based. And I'm sure a lot of you guys did too. I read a lot of the stuff that was on her pages, and it's just sickening. Like, it makes you embarrassed to be a part of the human race. And Jake Lloyd, when he was a kid, I mean, it was a child, for heaven's sakes. I hated the prequels. I wasn't attacking a kid. So, first of all, it wasn't nearly as toxic because there wasn't as much social media outlets to attack him with. So there's that. That was a big difference. But the other one, too, a lot of it wasn't racial or gender-based. So there are very, very different situations. Jake Lloyd never got nearly as much, but that might only be because the social media aspect wasn't as prevalent at that time as it is today. So that could be an excuse for it. But the other one was a lot of the Kelly Marie Tran stuff was racial and gender-based. But in either case, why attack an actor over a character when you don't like the way the character was written? What does the actor have to do with that? So in that way, it's similar, but in every other way, it's actually two pretty different situations. Wave Wonder writes, thoughts on the masterpiece that is American Pie. Honestly, I've never been a big American Pie fan. I thought the first one was okay. But I've watched it once and never again. I know a lot of people love it, though. A lot of people like you, Wave, really, really enjoyed that film, like revere that film. And I respect that. I'm sure there's films that I really like. My love of 40-Year-Old Virgin. I'm sure not everybody shares my love of the 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's fine. But yeah, I've never been big on American Pie, to be honest with you. Even though the great Eugene Levy is in it, the great good Canadian boy Eugene Levy is in there. Even with him in there, it doesn't fix it for me. I've never been a big fan of American Pie. Robbie writes, why can no Americans or Brits do a half-decent Irish accent? There's about 15 vastly different Irish accents, and there's 0 actors who can do one. Well, I disagree with that, Robbie. I completely disagree with that. I know I have several Irish friends here who would completely disagree with that as well. But hey, man, you're a movie fan. What we hear and what we see is all subjective. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I'm going to disagree with you on that. I've heard some good ones. At least what I interpret as good ones, and that some Irish friends of mine would say are good ones too. But doesn't work for you, that's perfectly fine. I'm just telling you, it does. A lot of them do work for the rest of us. All right. Brad Canfield writes, I believe the Comcast deal offer a $2 billion payday. I believe the Comcast deal offers a $2 billion payday for Disney to walk from the deal. Why don't Disney walk instead of bidding so much more? Well, $2 billion isn't that big of a deal. $60 billion is a big deal. Disney wants Fox. They want those assets. To walk away from it for just $2 billion is not worth it to them. They want those assets. So does Comcast, apparently. So, no. I mean, look, Disney obviously thinks getting these assets could be profitable in the tune of 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 billion dollars in the long run. Why would they take a $2 billion payout in exchange for what they believe could make them 70, 80, or 90 billion dollars long term? They just see that as a part of their future plans, and $2 billion is it's still $2 billion, but it's insignificant next to the grander scale of what they want to do with those assets, right? So that's probably why. Devontae Brown writes, Movie Pass and Cinemia only dead if Regal does this too. Oh no, you're very wrong about that, Devontae. So here's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about recently that the AMC theater chain they're going to be introducing, starting this coming Tuesday, their own movie membership club, which is far superior to anything Movie Pass or Cinemia, and I'm a big fan of Cinemia, but far superior to what either of them are doing. For $20 a month, you get 3 movies per week, not per month, per week. You get to watch them in any format, 3D, IMAX, Dolby, AMC Prime, Dine-In Theater, you name it. You can't do that with Movie Pass, and you can only do it once a month with Cinemia. You get to reserve your tickets online, in advance, reserve your seats, and you get discounts at the concession stands. It's a brilliant deal. Now, you're saying Movie Pass and Cinemia only dead if Regal does this too. No, you're assuming that Movie Pass can survive taking like a 30% hit. Look, remember, Movie Pass is on life support already. Like they're gonna be dead this year sometime anyway. They're already on life support. You now say cut 30% into what business they do have? That's enough to kill them. When you're already on life support, one more gunshot to the shoulder is enough to kill you. Movie Pass was barely hanging on. So now you get the biggest movie theater chain offering a better deal that a lot of people, like yesterday I canceled my Movie Pass membership. I've been a Movie Pass card carrier for a while, but I canceled my membership yesterday. And I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of people have been canceling their Movie Pass memberships and Cinemia memberships because they're getting ready for this AMC deal. And you take a company that's already on life support and all of a sudden take 20% of the whatever business they do have, take away 20% of it, you're dead. You're dead. They need every single one of those members they can get, and they're going to lose out on a big chunk of them. So no, it's not only going to take Regal to now do it too. This will be enough to kill them. And I mean, the reality is they were going to die this year sometime anyway. Like we've all seen the writing on the wall. We've all seen the financial reports. We all know they've been getting desperate. Like the latest announcement that they're going to start charging Movie Pass members a surcharge for seeing primetime movies at busy times. I mean, the writing's on the wall. The company was going to be dead in the year anyway. Now you got AMC coming along saying, oh, we're going to take away 20, 25, 30% of what little business you do have. They're done. They're done. Whether or not Regal does anything or not, they're done. Spencer Smothers writes, I can't wait for the movie on this Fox bidding war. Yeah, at some point there's got to be a documentary or a live action narrative movie about this whole Comcast, Disney, Fox drama. I mean, it has lived up to the hype. This is, as a film fan, as a film observer, as a film pundit, I got to tell you, it's been exciting for me just watching it. So whichever side comes out, and I hope Comcast wins, but even if they don't, if Disney wins this, whatever, it has been really entertaining to watch. I've gotten a huge kick out of watching this, and it's certainly not over yet. And at some point, you're right, Spencer, somebody's got to make a movie out of this. All right. Paul M. writes, with Disney making bank on almost every movie, will they be free to invest in more new IPs, or will they see the current trend and focus on sequels? Well, I mean, look, we already see them doing things that aren't sequels, but are remakes, whatever. Like Captain Marvel, not a sequel. It's part of a franchise, but not a sequel. We see things like Mulan, a live-action Mulan. Yes, it's a remake, but it's not a sequel. That's coming along the way. So we see them, and look, and every year or two, they always throw in these smaller, more auteur pictures, whether it's a Queen of Katwe, a $1 Million Arm, or films like that are always really, really good. Disney has always been a mixture of the tried and true and throwing in a few, smaller budget, more artful kind of films like that. They've always done it. They probably always will. So I think now they're not going to have as much bank around anymore. If they win this bidding war for Fox, they're spending more than half of their net worth on getting Fox. And think about that. They're spending half of their net worth to try to get Fox. They're not going to have a lot of money kicking around for a while. They are going to be tightening up the old belt buckle for a little bit while they get everything in order. But I think you'll probably just see them continue on the same pattern as they have already. Toonie2 writes, better George Clooney film, Batman and Robin or Return of the Killer Tomatoes? For me, I'm with you. Return of the Killer Tomatoes. There's not much redeemable other than laugh factor at how bad it is. There's not a lot redeemable about Batman and Robin. Return to the Killer Tomatoes, though, there's something classic about it. I mean, it's awful, but there's something classic about it. So I'm with you, ToonieTube. For me, it's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Devontae Brown writes, did you see MoviePass's Twitter response? Yeah, I mean, boy, we've been talking about it on the shows recently, but MoviePass's Twitter response is a great example of just how stupid and incompetent the leadership in MoviePass is. It was a horrible response that made them look like fourth graders and made it look like they were out of touch with reality. Because AMC's new movie deal kicks MoviePass's ass left, right, and center from ceiling to floor. It just beats the shit out of them from pillar to post. And MoviePass puts out a tweet, your deal's not any good. Thanks for making us look good, AMC. Like, all you did was make yourself look like you're completely out of touch or just in denial, but definitely dumb and incompetent. And it's just a great example of how stupid the leadership at MoviePass is. In my opinion, at any rate, it's a completely inept, incompetent people who can't tell their feet from their ass. And that tweet is a great example of it. Like I said on my show the other day, but I'll repeat it here. Like, if I was in charge of MoviePass and AMC just put out a new deal that beats the crap out of my deal, but I want to save some face, what I would have done is put out a tweet that says, hey, we are really encouraged and flattered that AMC is acknowledging that this business model that we have pioneered has value to the movie-going public. And we're excited to see that a big company like AMC is recognizing that this business model that we have been pioneering does have value for the audience. That's what I would have written. But instead they go, your deal's not as good as ours. Thanks for making us look good, AMC. Oh my God, you just made yourself look like a fourth grader and you made yourself look like you're out of touch. And that one tweet that MoviePass put out there is just a freeze frame in time about everything that's wrong with MoviePass and that completely inept company. But anyway, there you are. Andrew Odette writes, Chris Pratt's MTV speech was so genuine and cool. Yeah, it was a good little speech. He did this. So, first of all, the MTV Movie Awards are stupid and ridiculous and nobody should watch them. I certainly wouldn't waste my time watching them. But somebody put up a clip on Facebook saying, hey, have you seen this Chris Pratt speech? So I watched it. It was like Chris Pratt's 9 Rules of Life. And it was funny, but it was also, there was some nice, sweet, insightful stuff there as well. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can look it up on YouTube. Don't waste your time, waste any minutes of your precious life watching any MTV Movie Award nonsense. It's a waste of time. But hop on YouTube, look up that speech, and I thought it was really quite sweet. I thought it was really nice. David Coca writes, Fox has just accepted Disney's bid. This obviously came in the other day. No, that's false. That is not true. They accepted as in they received it, and the Fox board received it, and the Fox board is approving it, but they're irrelevant. It's the Fox shareholders. Guess what? When Disney made their $52 billion bid, Fox accepted that too. And yet Comcast came along and outbid them, and Fox had to put in a new deal. It means nothing. It means nothing. All that means is that the Fox board is going to recommend to the Fox shareholders that they accept the deal. But if Comcast comes along again like they did last time and puts in another counteroffer, the Fox shareholders are going to turn down the Disney deal. That's why Disney had to come back and add $20 million to their original offer. Because Fox accepted Disney's first offer of $52 billion. But it's irrelevant if Comcast or anybody else comes along and tells the shareholders, hey guys, before you vote on July 10th, we are going to put in a bigger offer to pay you more money. then it doesn't matter what the Fox board says. So this whole thing where all these people are running headlines that Fox has accepted Disney's bid, that's incredibly misleading. Because what the Fox board does is irrelevant. It's what the Fox shareholders want. And if somebody else tells the Fox shareholders, we're going to give you more money, then the Fox shareholders are going to turn down the Disney bid, thus forcing Disney to come back with another higher bid, which the Fox board will then once again accept, but it doesn't mean anything until the July 10th vote. That's all it's about. It's only about the July 10th vote of the Fox shareholders. Because they're the ones who are selling their shares. So they're the ones who have to approve it, not the Fox board. All right. Dark Horizons 211 writes, hey, John, the AMC subscription launch is on June 26th. It's on Tuesday. I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait to sign up for this thing. I'm going to use the crap out of that thing. I'm so excited about it. Emmanuel Perez writes, hey, John, have you heard anything about AMC's movie subscription service for $20 a month? We've been talking about that ad nauseum. Clearly, a lot of people are excited about it and talking about it. CJT231 writes, Bloomberg is reporting that the FTC is ready to approve the Fox-Deal merger within the next few weeks. Does Comcast still have a chance? Absolutely they do. And it doesn't matter what the FTC wants to do or doesn't want to do. Nothing happens until the Fox shareholders vote. And as of right now, the Fox shareholders have not voted. Now, if Comcast does not come in and put in a higher offer than Disney just did, with Disney's $71.3 billion, if Comcast doesn't come in with a bigger bid, then July 10th is going to come, the Fox shareholders are going to vote, and they're most likely going to vote to accept the Disney offer, and then it's done. Then it'll go to the FTC, and then it'll all get signed, sealed, and delivered and approved. That's when it's done. But all this stuff, all this talk about all this other stuff is pointless and irrelevant until the Fox shareholders vote. So if Comcast comes in with another offer that would make the Fox shareholders vote no to the Disney deal, then game's still on. So we're going to have to wait and see. Personally, I don't think Comcast should put in a bigger bid. Now, at this point, they've both put so much money into this. Both of them are paying too much than what Fox is worth at this point, to be honest with you. Like Time Warner, which is worth way more than Fox, only went for $85 billion. So both of them are paying already. No matter who wins this thing now between Disney and Comcast, either one of them, they're paying too much. But hey, maybe that was Comcast's goal all along. Maybe Comcast's whole goal in all this was just to force Disney to spend more money than they wanted. Because Disney, remember, just a few weeks ago, Disney was getting ready to buy Fox for $52 billion. And now it's basically $72 billion. Comcast just backed Disney into a corner and forced them to spend $20 billion more than they wanted. And maybe that was maybe that was their whole goal all along, was to screw Disney. If so, mission accomplished. Let's see. Sean Donahue writes, when can we expect a Star Wars Resistance trailer? Oh, I have no idea. To be honest with you, off the top of my head, I don't even know when the damn thing comes out. So when can we expect a trailer? No idea. None. Like I said, off the top of my head, I don't even know, when is the Star Wars Resistance begin? Hold on a second. Star Wars Resistance release date. Okay, let's see what they say here. It says coming this fall. Okay, so fall, say, starts late August, early September. So maybe at Comic-Con? Maybe at Comic-Con they launch it? Yeah, if it's actually coming this fall, I would expect to probably see something from them pretty soon, now that you mention it. But yeah, up until this moment, I had no idea when it was coming out. Now I do, so I'm going to guess, if not at Comic-Con, then by Comic-Con. I think within the month. I think at the latest we'll get it is Comic-Con. If it's really coming out in the fall, then I think the latest we'll get our first look at it will probably be Comic-Con, but maybe before then. Kristen Filippic writes, just saw the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor? It really made me think about how powerful TV movies can be, sometimes for ill and sometimes for really good. That's the great thing about movies, man. I can go on for hours about why movies are so important and so great, about how they paint the pictures. They're our way of looking at the world the way it is, the way we see it, the way we wish it would be, the way it could be, the way it possibly was. I mean, it's just, and we as a species are storytellers, right? You go back to the earliest days, I've talked about this before, the earliest recordings of man is, whether it's cave drawings, or sitting around campfires, we as a species are storytellers. That's what we do. It defines us. And the ultimate expression of storytelling is the movies. And there's so much can be communicated in and throughout and with movies. It's amazing. And yeah, some of the most uplifting experiences you'll have are watching certain messages in movies. And sometimes it's the most ridiculous movies that can really give you an uplifting feeling or challenge you or move you or whatever. And I'm with you, Kristen, on that. That is one of the most powerful things about film and why I will always be a massive film fan. James Argenta writes, what July movie makes more, Ant-Man and the Wasp or MI6? I got a feeling it's going to be MI6. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to benefit from some bump off of Infinity War, although some people might have gone, hey, look, I just saw Black Panther and I just saw Infinity War. I'm going to take a little bit of a break for a minute. That might happen too. But I think MI6 is probably going to end up making more. I think they'll both make in the $600 to $800 million range, but I just think MI6 will come in closer to that top end, and Ant-Man, which will be bigger than the first Ant-Man movie, but the first Ant-Man movie only made 500 and something change million, which is great, but I think it's going to get into the 6, maybe low 7s, whereas I think MI6 will go above that. So my guess, and I could be totally wrong about this, I don't feel real deep conviction about this, but my guess right now is that MI6 will probably be the bigger moneymaker out of the two. Patrick Conway writes, will Black Widow be like Winter Soldier, John Wick style? I don't know what you mean by Winter Soldier, John Wick style. I don't see John Wick and Winter Soldier being of the same style. If you're asking if it'll be action heavy oriented, I doubt it. I have a feeling if they end up doing a Black Widow movie, which we still don't know if they are going to do one, by the way. They're looking at directors. They've got somebody putting together a script, but lots of projects get to that stage and never actually become movies. So there's been no official announcement that they are doing a Black Widow movie. If it happens, I have a feeling it'll be more of a intrigue espionage kind of film. Definitely with some action. For sure there'd be some action in there. But I think they'll go more at the thriller kind of... I think they'd go more with a Captain America Civil War political espionage thriller kind of a film, as opposed to more of a heavy action film, which is clearly what a John Wick is. So again, we don't even know if this movie's happening, so we'll have to wait and see. But that would be my initial guess right now. All right. Maurice Cook writes, hey, John, Marvel as Squadron Supreme. There are evil version of Justice League. I would to see then in a next Avengers movie after Infinity War. This will be the close we get to see DC versus Marvel. Maurice, I'm having a hard time understanding it. Let me try it one more time. Hi, John. Marvel as Squadron Supreme. There are evil version of Justice League. I would to see then in a next Avengers movies after Infinity War. This will be the close we get to see DC versus... I'm sorry, Maurice. I'm not piecing together what it is you're asking. Something about Squadron Supreme, something about DC versus Marvel. I'm not piecing together. Do me a favor. Email me and word it out a little bit better, and maybe then I can email you back and give you an answer to that. But I'm just having, off the top of my head here, I'm having a hard time piecing together what it is you're asking. Sorry about that, man. Eric DeRiggi writes, you often compliment Marvel Studios as not being a reactionary studio, leading to their success. Is Lucasfilm being reactionary right now with their anthologies? Can Disney intervene at all? I don't know what you're asking. Like reactionary in what way? Are you talking about that rumor that was going around that they were putting off the Star Wars? Okay, well, if that's the one you're talking about, maybe that's what you're talking about here. Number one, that's a rumor. No, first of all, there's a couple of layers to this. So there was this story that started going around that Lucasfilm was postponing and putting off their Boba Fett and ObiWan movies. as a result of the financial flop that Solo was. There's a couple of big problems with that. Number one, there has never been an official announcement of either when and if we were getting a Boba Fett. I mean, there were news reports that we had James Mangold was going to direct Boba Fett. We've heard rumors of the ObiWan movie, but that neither of those have ever been officially announced. So that's problem number one. There's never been an official announcement for either Boba Fett or for Obi-Wan. So for Lucasfilm to change something, they would have first had to have announced something, which they haven't done. So there's that problem. The second problem is this does not nullify the report, but it's just something, a grain of salt you have to keep in mind. This whole thing is coming from one website and one person at one website saying they talked to somebody who was close to the production on this. So basically, this is all coming from one person who says they talked to somebody, an unknown source, and they're saying this one thing. Now, that doesn't negate its authenticity, but it also calls into question the authenticity. I don't think you can go to the bank with that. So you have a couple problems. Number one, there was never a Boba Fett or Obi-Wan movie ever officially announced to change. Number two, this is all coming from one unnamed source that nobody knows about. On that basis alone, this isn't even something we should be talking about. Because I don't know how you change your plans for something that you never announced your plans for. Like, if I'm going to have a birthday party, but I don't know when, and then somebody says, John just changed his birthday party from the 22nd to the 23rd. Well, wait a minute, I never said I was having a birthday party on the 22nd. How am I changing my plans? So, I mean, so I don't know how we say somebody's changing their plans when we never knew what anybody's plans were in the first place. So, and that's just kind of how I feel about that right now. Music Guy writes, any insider info on Grace Randolph's Wonder Woman 84 rumors. I'll be straight up honest with you. I do not watch any of Grace Randolph's videos, so I have no idea. They could be the most brilliant videos in the world, or could be the stupidest shit ever being said, but I honestly don't know. I don't watch her videos, so I don't know anything about those Wonder Woman rumors. Third Man 3 writes, thoughts on Lucasfilm halting the spin-offs? I think I just addressed that. Kern Dog 1 writes, moving to Orlando in August. I visited Orlando. I really liked it. And they have multiple AMCs there. I'm so hyped about this. Movie Pass has been a nice deal, but also a pain in the ass. Yup, and you're going to live close to some AMCs. I'll tell you what, this AMC deal, I'm luckier than most people because I live a 10-minute walk from one of the biggest AMC theaters in the country, the AMC Burbank 16. So I get to walk, and I'm going to be able to use this thing all the time. I don't even have to get in my car to go and watch movies there. So it's great. If you're moving to Orlando, they've got a lot of AMC theaters there. And like me, very excited about this new plan. Let's hope it works out as flawlessly as a lot of AMC stuff does. Ian Nguyen-Du writes, that must mean Disney really wants Fox. Well, I mean, Disney really does want Fox. Make no mistake about it. They absolutely really want Fox, for sure. Troika S writes, everyone's concerned about the X-Men. I'm concerned the better part of $100 billion will line the coffers of an organization that's going all in on its news machine. Well, I mean, look, regardless of what you think about Fox News and whatever, first of all, the money's not going to their coffers. The money is going to the shareholders. So keep that in mind. Is there some crossover there and some overlap? I'm sure there is, maybe a whole ton of it. But that's really not something that's any of our business to even worry about, to be honest with you. So whatever your opinions are on something like Fox News, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's one business buying another business. Money's going to go to the shareholders. Maybe there's some overlap there, maybe there isn't. But that's as far as into it as I'm willing to go personally. Let's see. Preston Walden writes, canceled Cinemia today. Loving AMC early Christmas. Yeah, and you're not alone, man. Like, I canceled my movie pass the other day. I paid for my Cinemia card a year in advance. Like, I paid for a full year in advance, which is fine. I've already more than gotten my money worth out of it. Like, more than gotten my money's worth out of it. So I can't cancel my Cinemia card. So I'll probably still use it for when I'm out of town or at different theaters, whatever. Sure. But yeah, I've already canceled my movie pass and canceled her movie pass yesterday. We're both getting these AMC cards. You're clearly doing it as well, and I'm sure we're not alone. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be lining up to do this as well. Preston follows it up with AMC to movie pass. Someone should have worn the brown pants. Yep, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. That's a good example. Nice reference there, Preston. I like that. Patrick Hewitt writes, "Hey, John. What are some of your favorite and most memorable movie scores? Not counting Star Wars. For me, it's Back to the Future, Raiders, and Batman '89. Also been loving Ready Player One soundtrack lately. Can't wait for the Blu-ray." Honestly, for me, other than Star Wars films, my all-time favorite scores have been out of the Lord of the Rings films. The Shore soundtrack on that, what Shore did with those is just phenomenal. I love the music. I can sit down. There are not many soundtracks I can just sit down and put on the soundtrack and listen to it. But the Lord of the Rings one is absolutely one that I can do. Now, there are many movies we could talk about that all have great scores. Yes. But aside from Star Wars, which is obviously King of the Hill, it's the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. I just get moved when I listen to it. Every single piece teleports me to that scene of the movies. And I just adore it. I just absolutely adore it. And even though it's more of a song from the soundtrack, with it ending with Into the West by Annie Lennox, I remember watching The Return of the King for the first time, the final Lord of the Rings film. It's the end of the trilogy now. And they play that song with all the art. And I'm getting, can you see the bumps and the hair standing up on my arm? Anyway. And my eyes started to water. I was getting choked up because I felt like I had been on this journey with them. And that song, Into the West, beyond the sea, on the horizon, why do the Wygulls call? Anyway, so like, I get, But the whole soundtrack's like that for me. So yeah, that's really one. I mean, you've mentioned some very, very good ones, but the Lord of the Rings one to me is the one that just takes me there every single frickin' time, man. Let's see. Patrick creates, just can't wait. Sorry, love the show as always. No, I totally got what you meant, Patrick. No problem. Harry Schauer writes, John, do you think Aquaman has a chance of crossing $1 billion? No. I mean, James Wan is really good. Yeah, but James Wan's not the marketer. Is really good. And also Fast and Furious 7 made $1.5 billion. Yeah, but Fast and the Furious was in a very different situation. Fast and the Furious 5 was the best Fast and Furious movie. Then Fast and the Furious 6 was even better. And so you had this massive momentum going up. You had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there. It was all heading in a big positive direction. That's a very different situation than what Aquaman's in. Now, I have very high hopes that Aquaman is going to be very good because James Wan's directing it. I love Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I'm hearing good things coming out of CinemaCon. We're hearing good things about the trailer. We're going to get to see the trailer ourselves for the first time at Comic-Con. I think, so whether or not the movie's good is a separate question. I have very, very good feelings that this is going to be a really good movie. Not the least of which is because of James Wan. Absolutely. But James Wan is not, like Solo was a really good movie and it flopped. James Wan's not the marketer. James Wan isn't putting the marketing campaign together. And the fact of the matter is, the Fast and the Furious situation was a totally different situation. You had a Fast and Furious franchise that was totally on an upswing and building momentum and getting better and better and better and better. That's not the case with the DCEU right now. Like, I like Justice League, but a lot of people didn't. And it ended up flopping. It ended up being the lowest grossing, what Justice League, which should have been contending against Avengers, should have been the crown jewel of the DCEU, should have been the highest grossing film by far, your movie with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Flash and Aquaman, all in the same movie. And it ended up being the lowest grossing of all the DCU movies. That's a massive difference. So yeah, Fast and Furious 7 made that much money, but it was on a franchise that was on a total upswing and had massive momentum behind it. Aquaman's a totally different situation. Can Aquaman do well? Yes, it can do well. I think if Aquaman makes $500 million, I think they should be totally happy. I think they should consider it a big success if Aquaman, if Justice League only makes $600 and something million, if Aquaman on his own can come out and make $500 and something million, that's a win. To me, that's a win. $1 billion, I think, is just out of reach. $1 billion is just simply out of reach. There are too many people that have already given up on the DCEU. And maybe Aquaman can become a film that helps getting them all back, maybe, but it's not going to make $1 billion on its own. So personally, I think the movie can be the quality of $1 billion movie. I think James Wan has that ability, and Jason Momoa in the lead role. I think they have the potential to make a movie that is the quality of $1 billion film. But just from a business point of view, I think it would be naive to think that this movie can make $1 billion. It's just, there's too much going against it right now. It can turn the tide, no pun intended. It could turn the tide of it, but it's not going to make $1 billion. And I think I think it's unfair to Aquaman, to the movie, to go in with talking those types of expectations. You say, oh, maybe it could make $1 billion, and then it makes $700 million, and going, oh, Peel, it didn't make $1 billion. Well, yeah, but if a movie like Aquaman can come out and make $700 million when Justice League only made $600 and something million, that's huge, right? And I think it's got a potential to come in. It could come in around $700 million. But I think if Aquaman, first of all, anything over 400, they're fine. 500, I think you call that a success. If it gets in the $700 million range, I think you call that a huge win. Huge win. And I think it does have that potential. But I don't think it has potential for $1 billion. There's just too much other stuff working against it right now. Let's see. Act Naturally Productions writes, I have a theory about Dustin Hoffman. Watch almost any of his films, and you will find a scene where he is running. Do you think there's a reason? I don't know. I can think of a number of things of Dustin Hoffman that does not have him running. So I'm not quite sure that, I mean, if you said Tom Cruise, that's been proven. There's always scenes where Tom Cruise is running. But Dustin, no, I can think of a couple things off the top of my head where he's not running. So I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, Act Naturally. So no, I don't think there's any reason for it because I don't think there's an actual pattern there. At least not any more than any normal actor would run in any X number of films that they're in. So I don't see it. I don't see it. But maybe you're seeing something I don't see. Wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, I just personally don't see it. Okay, Luna Comics writes, did you hear Batman is joining Supergirl and they're going to have him go up against Supergirl skin? So Luna is clearly poking fun at me because I just hate the Supergirl show for the way they treated Superman. In WWE language, they brought in Superman to job for Supergirl. Just to put Supergirl over and to job to Supergirl. That, to me, is so disrespectful. To the king of all the superheroes, Superman. And what they did there, just to put their own little show over, I will never forgive them for that. I will never forgive them for that. Like I said, the comparison would be, if you're Arrow, you don't bring in Batman onto Arrow just so you can have Arrow and Batman have a fight and then have Arrow win the fight so Batman can go, oh, Green Arrow, you are the hero that this country deserves, not me. Oh, Green Arrow, you're so awesome. I would spit on anybody involved with that show if they treated the Batman character like that. And that is what the Supergirl show just did to Superman. And I will never forgive that show for that. So that show can burn in hell, as far as I'm concerned. And Luna Comics knows that, and that's why she's poking fun of me like that. Carlos Santana writes, will Ant-Man and Wasp include an Infinity War tie-in? If so, with an end credit scene or in the actual film? Well, there was actually just an interview with Peyton Reed where Peyton Reed seemed to suggest, I figured there would be a tie-in at the end of the film. I'm seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp tonight, by the way, Friday night, tonight. I'm watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I'll be able to know more later. But I've been expecting there to be a tie-in near the end or in a post-credit scene. But apparently, according to Peyton Reed, there's not a tie-in. At least that's what he seems to be implying. He says the real tie-in is with Civil War, and we wanted to be able to tell our own standalone story here. So maybe there's not going to be one. I don't know. Like I said, I'll find out tonight. But going by, look, my assumption was there would be a tie-in at the end, but the way Peyton Reed's talking, it sounds like maybe there's not. So I don't know. I'll find out tonight and I'll let you guys know as soon as I can. All right. Luna Comics writes, may I recommend My Hero Academia, an anime with a world of superheroes. It's intense and very emotional. You know what? I've had a number of people write in, Luna, on this show, on the John Campea show and on Open Mic. A number of times, at least 4 or 5 times, people have written in to recommend My Hero Academia. I have never watched it, but look, I had never watched Into the Badlands either, and then enough people kept on recommending it, and I eventually started watching it, and I quite like Into the Badlands. And I'm going to have to check out this My Hero Academia because, like I said, you're not alone, Luna. Like, a number of people have been telling me to check it out. Now you are too, so I'm going to have to make sure I check it out. All right. Robert Meritz writes, Lynda Carter was close to what I think you meant spotted. Lynda Carter was spotted close to the Wonder Woman set in DC. What are your thoughts of Lynda having a role in Wonder Woman 1984? Good or bad idea? Bad idea. Terrible idea. It would just feel too on the nose. I think it would pull you out. I think it would be fourth wall breaking. I think it would pull you out of the film. Like, there are types of films where having a Lynda Carter appearance would be hilarious and great. Like, remember that, what was that movie about a superhero high school? Sky High, I think it was called. And Kurt Russell was in it, and Lynda Carter played the principal of the superhero high school. That's perfect in a movie like that. That is perfect. But in something like this, I think having Lynda Carter might actually be a little bit of a distraction. As awesome as Lynda Carter is, I have a feeling that would be a distraction. And it would pull people out of the movie. It's a little too on the nose, but yeah, I don't know. Let's wait and see. Like, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something. Let's find out. Alan Gonzalez writes, do you think they can make a Star Wars movie that happens at the same time as episodes 4, 5, and 6, and also a critical Jedi story? No, you can't. You can't do a separate movie that happens at the same time of 4, 5, and 6 that's centered on Jedi, because that would be completely contradictory to canon. Master Yoda said, when gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be. So, I mean, there is no more Jedi at that point in time. And for them to do something like that would completely be contradicting canon. And you know I'm a real stickler for canon, so I don't like it when they mess with canon. If you say something's canon, then let it be canon. And so doing something like that, while on the surface it seems like it could be a really cool idea, the reality is it completely contradicts everything that episodes 4, 5, and 6 taught us about the Star Wars universe, and therefore it wouldn't make sense. So, no, I don't think they would do it, and I wouldn't be for it. All right, Christopher Warren, and this is the final question for today's show, and then we're all caught up, writes, hello, John, my little Canadian butterfly. Well, thank you so much, Christopher. I appreciate that. All right, guys, that's it. We are now all caught up on all the questions you guys are sending. By the way, guys, I love it and I appreciate so much when you guys do participate in the John Campea Show in the mornings and on Open Mic in the afternoons. When you send in these questions, give us all as film fans stuff to talk about. But just know that if there's ever time that you send in a question and we didn't have time to get to it, they do appear here on our companion video. So once again, guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Don't forget, if you're watching this early in the morning, 8:30 in the mornings, we have our main show, the John Campea Show, going into all the movie news, getting you guys caught up to date. So make sure amongst you and all your friends, you know more about what's going on in the world of movies than any of your friends do. So make sure you join us for that. And then, of course, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we have Open Mic. And, of course, guys, make sure you're following me on Twitter right there at John Campea, because tonight, Friday, I'm going to be seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp. And while the review embargo isn't until Wednesday, I am allowed to give out my social media review. So I'm going to be tweeting out my initial thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp tonight. Make sure you're following me there. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.